Hi, my name's Dave and you're listening to episode 63 of On the Bench, the show for scale modelers, by scale modelers, all about scale models. In this episode we're going to be joined by special guest Will Pattison as we do a deep dive to discuss how plastic kits are actually made. Of course we have some listener mail and some interesting new kit announcements. But first, this episode is being brought to you by the generous support of our Patreons. I'd like to take this moment to thank and acknowledge all of our Patreon supporters, and I salute you one and all. If you would like to help to support the show, you can do so by going to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount from $1 upwards. Your ongoing support helps with the production costs and are greatly appreciated. Fine Scale Modeler is proud to support On the Bench. Fine Scale Modeler is the world's most recognised and essential magazine and is available in all good newsagents and newsstands or wherever you purchase your magazines. Alternatively, go to their website www.finescale.com and subscribe to either the print edition or the digital edition, or why not both? Go now. Go to www.finescale.com. And hello and welcome to the show, and g'day Ian.
G'day Dave, g'day listeners.
G'day Julian.
Hello.
Gentlemen, what have we been doing?
Let's see, working on the Brewster Buffalo.
Yeah.
Got the cockpit done.
Yep.
Finally figured out the colours and painted it. Doing my detailing work, put the fuselage halves together, and this afternoon I'll start working on the Quick Boost resin engine I bought for it.
Cool. That'll be very nice.
Yeah.
Got your colours sorted out?
For the engine.
Oh, for the whole kit?
Yeah, for the whole kit,
Yeah.
Yeah, I finally, after spending days online, checking out different forums and other people's ideas, and I found out the cockpits were painted pretty much the same as the naval F2As. So all over silver except for the top sections, which were black.
Yeah.
The outside colours are olive drab 41 and US dark green 42.
Very good.
With silver undersurfaces.
So how long before it's finished?
Oh, could be a while. I'm not rushing it. I'm not rushing it. It's taking my time, just building it.
What about you, Julian?
Yeah, we're still working on the P47 and the Lancia. So with the Lancia, I've got there's a few things, like I use some micro mesh to polish out some defects from that were coming through the clear coat layers that had come from the decals underneath. Yep. So I polished that. I sort of like not polished it out, but because I'm still going to polish it over the top anyway to properly gloss it up. So I did that. I put the lights on and the lenses on the headlights. So I've got those on, looking
very nice,
looking quite nice. Yeah, I initially put them on like the wrong way around.
Well, the left on the right, the right and the left.
Well, no, I mean like they got like all the sort of square, sort of patterny type stuff that you have with headlights, Oh
yeah,
that vintage,
Yeah.
And it's got like a little round, like I don't know. Maybe kind of like a locating pin to make sure they're aligned vertically or something. Yes. I don't know. In any case, I put them on back to front, and then I'm like, that can't be right. They would do it so that it's smooth on the outside. So I just pried them off and glued them back in the other way around.
So you saved it.
Yeah. I mean, it's no big deal. I mean, like they had to go one way or the other.
Yeah, that's true.
Then I started messing with like the windscreen, and I stuffed up the windscreen. So what happened was there's this blue decal that runs across the top of the windscreen, like a blue strip that says Lancia Martini, and I stuffed it up. I've lost the decal.
Ouch.
I'm just gonna deal with it like that. I'm like this. It's not the perfect kit, so I'm just gonna let it lie.
Let it slide.
Yeah, let it slide. Whatever.
So here's a question: would you build a car again?
Oh yeah, I got other car kits to build.
Okay.
And I think I've come to the decision that at some point in time I will fork out $400 for one of those Model Factory Hero kits.
Wow.
Because, you know, it has to be the right subject. Like, it's not the kind of thing where you would, they're not curbside kits, right? They're all, every single one of those comes with the full engine and everything.
You know what? It doesn't scare me as much now paying that amount of money for a kit.
I know.
After seeing how much the railroad guys pay for their locomotives and stuff.
Oh, not even just that. Like the wing that wings people will pay, $270 for a kit.
300.
600 for the Lancaster, I think.
600, I think, when the Lanc comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I sort of rationalize it, it's kind of like, you've got like this Hasegawa kit. It's an okay kit. It's got its some flaws and bad design features and simplified detail. But if you were to compare this to a Model Factory Hero kit, it'd be like the difference between some old 1970s Revell kit and a modern, slide molded kit.
So if you're going for one of these kits, what particular vehicle would you purchase?
I'm not too sure yet. I'm thinking maybe a Ferrari. Yes, I know that. But see, I'm not buying it. I wouldn't be building it because I like Ferraris.
Ian's recoiling.
Let me explain. So, do you know about the upcoming movie Ford versus Ferrari?
Yes.
Of course I do.
Yes.
Right. So from what I've deduced in that trailer, that's like a reimagining of the actual story.
Yeah.
Right?
The dramatisation of the story.
Yeah. So I was watching a video of this guy narrating the real story.
Yep.
And oh man, he tells that story like you would not believe. He's real. I don't know what. He's just a really good storyteller, and he's an automotive historian. I forgot what his name is. And it's an absolute amazing YouTube video. It really is. Like the things that went on is unbelievable.
You have to send me a link.
Yeah, I will. I will. And basically what happened is like, you got this Ford versus Ferrari thing that was going on where, Henry Ford's trying to, stick it up.
Well, he originally wanted to buy Ferrari.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they
walked away from the table.
Some of the terms Enzo wouldn't agree with, so they walked away from the table.
Well, yeah, Enzo wanted to go racing. He just wanted to, offload the production side of the business so that he could go racing and have a big fat bank of money. And this is where they both wanted the racing portion.
Yeah.
And that's why it fell through. But anyway, and what ends up happening is both of them lose, and an American-owned Ferrari team wins.
Yes.
Right? Against all odds, And it's that car that I would like to make.
Oh, one of those GTOs.
Yeah.
Three little scallops on the front, just in front of the bonnet.
Yeah. So it's a Ferrari, I don't know, 250 LS or something like that. Something along those lines. And just because of the historical significance, not because I like Ferrari.
I do. I think Guns made a model of that kit.
Who cares? I would like to get the Model Factory Hero kit if I was going to do it.
Yep. Well, then you're going to get a Cobra or something to go against it.
Why?
You can't have just one sitting there by itself.
Because I see because in the Ferrari versus Ford thing, right? It may have been a Ferrari that won, but it wasn't any of Enzo's Ferraris that won. It was an American team on American tires, Ferrari.
Yep.
Right? That's why it's kind of like these two guys these two big corporations were going at it, and neither of them won.
Yeah, but I can see where Ian's coming from. It's like buying a Spitfire without buying an ME109.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
If
you're going to have the adversary there.
You like GD40s? Get an early model GD40 Mark 1.
GT40.
Mark 1.
Mark 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's the kind of thing where I'm not sold on it yet, and I wouldn't buy it just yet, and I wouldn't build it just yet. But, as long as you're going to fork out that much money for a single car kit, it may as well be something that has some cool significance to it. And Model Factory Hero if you look at their lineup, there's a lot of Ferraris.
Of kits. Yeah, there are a lot of kits they have.
A lot of Ferraris, a lot of race cars, and it seems to me that that's kind of their strength, Ferraris. So they would probably get that right.
Yep.
More than anything. Not to mention it's one of those kits because it's you lift up the top and you can see everything underneath it.
Yeah.
It lends itself to being displayed with the whole rear section lifted up and that whole thing, and it looks the part.
Yep.
Like you wouldn't want to pick a car where you've got it open and there's not that much to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't want to get like one of those old Fiat 500s, you know, where it's just got like some little 4-cylinder air-cooled motor in the back. And
unless you're getting a Bath, one of those Bath ones.
Yeah,
where they actually had they couldn't close the bonnet, or actually the bonnet on them was the boot.
Yeah.
They couldn't. It had to, from factory. It had to sit open because of all the stuff
but
they put on the motor.
Yeah, but even with all the stuff, it's a pretty meh looking motor.
Yeah, that's right. Some people like them, and I just look at the little Fiats and go, "It's a shopping cart with a motor in it." That's all it is to me.
I mean, like if you actually looked at like this car that I'm considering, I would consider getting this Ferrari. If you even compare the race car to the production car version of
totally
it.
Different.
Completely different. Yep. Like you would want to get the race car version because it looks like a beast under there.
Well, just hurry up and buy it because I want to see it.
No.
I'm serious. I've never seen a model hero car.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've seen a few.
I'm keen to have a look.
They are worth the money.
Yeah.
They are big money, but they are worth the money.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like you would want it. That's the thing. Like these kits cost so much that they're not the kind of one like, oh, I'm in the market for a $400 car kit.
Yeah.
I'll just get that one because it looks cool. No. You want to get the specific one that you want.
Yeah. And the bodies are pewter, aren't they?
No,
pewter
not
casted.
all. Like a lot of it is like white metal pewter type stuff, but usually the bodies are resin, I believe. Like single piece thin resin kind of deals. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's and like if you look at some of their kits, like they do like Le Mans era Porsches and things like that, and like the door will be pewter type stuff, but the major part of the body will be resin, I believe.
Right. Yep.
But they give you everything. They give you like machined bloody
wire wheels and
they
got everything.
They do the wire wheels and everything. They'll have turned aluminium bolts and things like that involved, and hose fittings and.
So basically, you're just an assembler.
Yeah,
you're not a model builder.
Well, no, you still have to clean up all this stuff.
Yeah,
come on, man. I'm sitting across the table from you. I can see you wink at Ian when you say that, right? You're not fooling anyone, right?
Oh, jeez. Oh, gosh.
But yeah, I would consider it. Anyway, I'm working on this Lancia. It's getting near the end. I've only got a few bits left to do, but the windscreen and the rear window didn't go into so well. The sides are better, but whatever. I'm almost done. Got to put because I'm not willing to spend any more on it than what's in the kit. So I'm just dealing with like the decal seat belts, which isn't going to look great. But whatever, it's inside the cockpit behind glass and stuff. So who cares?
Fair enough.
It's not like the doors can open, so you can't see the seat belts too clearly anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So what about you, Dave?
Still tracking along with my NASA M113.
You got your decals yet?
No. I've had a lot
So you're a really game guy, You're building this whole thing up with a specialised paint scheme, and you're not even sure if you can get the markings.
Correct. But I have a number of cunning plans.
Oh, no.
So I've
And what's that, baldric?
I've reached out to our good friend Russ French from Defence Models, because I know he built one, so I'm hoping he can perhaps
help source you some decals.
Or run them off himself. I think he does all his own decals.
Oh, yeah, that'd be nice.
And if that avenue doesn't work out, I'll then reach out.
Buy some Frisket film.
No, well, I was going to touch Troy on the shoulder and look at just doing some...
cutting some masks.
Cutting some masks and just painting.
I think
at least the numbers, I can get the numbers on the side. I had a lot of people write to me and say, hey, Dave, have you seen this? And the particular decal set they're all mentioning is now out of production. And I've written to the guy and I've just got no response on his emails, so I don't think he's even monitoring his email account anymore. So if anybody out there knows where I can get some M113 NASA decals
in 1/35th scale,
in 1/35th scale, that actually have them in their hot little hands and willing to trade, I'm open to suggestions.
Yes.
I really do think like getting some masks cut is probably your best bet.
Yeah, I agree, but
especially since some of them are white, so there's no chance you can print that as a decal,
Yeah, but you're going to miss out on like the little NASA decal itself, though. With the emblem of NASA and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Oh,
so that's the killer.
Yeah, true.
I thought it said you're a game man to go on this far. I'm not even sure if you can do the markings.
I always knew I'd get some of the markings done regardless of some ways, just how I sort of go about it. But
yeah, you've got to have it right.
Is this the kind of thing where you'll get part way, realise you don't have the resources immediately
and it sits on the
anytime
shelf.
soon, and you just put it in the back of the shelf?
I always knew it would end up on the
shelf
for a little while at some point. So it didn't bother me.
It's no stress then.
It's going to get built eventually. I mean, how long did it take you to do your USS England? And that got put on the shelf a couple of times.
That took it was 2.5 years.
Yeah, see, you know what? It's going to get built eventually. Might not be today, but
unlike my Stug, which sat in the box for about 15 years before I finished it.
Apart from that, I have bought a couple of books, actually. My stepson has put me on to the... let's move that glass of water so I don't spill it all over the console.
An interesting book series.
Yeah, the...
Horus Heresy.
Yes, the Horus Heresy, the Warhammer
40K.
40K. So I've just started the first book of Horus Rising, and Ian informed me there's, 60-something books
64 books all up in the series.
Yeah, so that's going to keep me busy for a while.
That'll keep you busy for a long while.
Well, you don't have to read the entire series.
I am.
Yeah, well, you're
I'm a
already
bit
invested,
crazy.
but
Yes.
he's not.
Yes.
And it was Father's Day here a little while ago, and Michelle got me a voucher for the bookshop. I only got to the bookshop yesterday. So I picked up a book called Turning Point, written by... Michael Veitch, who is an Australian author out here, and Turning Point's about the Battle for Milne Bay in 1942, Japan's first land defeat in World War II.
Michael Veitch, wasn't he part of that comedy group?
Yes, he was. Yep, he's gone on to be a history.
He's a model builder too, from what I know.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what? He's based in Melbourne. We should get him on the show.
Yeah.
But
oh God, one of the originals from the comedy company.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
funny guy. Really funny guy.
That'd make for an amazing show.
A lot of people don't realise that. It's certainly within Australia. It was always Kokoda that was seen as the great turning point in the war against Japan on land. Well, that's not actually the fact. The fact is, it was a battle for Milne Bay, which was on the eastern edge of Papua New Guinea. And
well, that's where the P-40s were taking off, and I don't think they were even bringing their undercarriage up.
They weren't bringing the undercarriage up.
As they were taking off, they were firing into the tree line.
Yes, absolutely.
To try and get rid of the Japanese.
Yep.
The Japanese were right on the edge of the airfield.
Yep. So
that can't be a good idea.
No. You're taking off and these Japanese firing at you as you're taking off.
Yeah. But also, you can't shoot at the ground without pointing yourself at the ground while you...
Exactly.
Which is not how you take off.
No.
Yep. So, and that was the first actual land defeat of the Japanese by Allied forces.
Yep.
So it was Australian and
American.
US engineers.
Correct.
Yep. It's the first land defeat of the Japanese in World War II, which is interesting piece of history. And also got a book called Flagship, which is about HMAS Australia 2, which is which is an Australian cruiser that served in the Second World War.
County class?
Yeah, I think so. And she fought all over the world in the Second World War, fought in actions against the Vichy French, was in the North Atlantic, was bombed by the Luftwaffe in Liverpool, and then went on to fight against the Japanese all the way from the First Sea Battle to stop the Japanese Pacific all the way through to the Battle of Leyte Gulf in the Philippines, where she was struck by a kamikaze bomber. That's quite a large book, actually. It's about 550 pages.
Looks like a good book.
Yeah, Mike Carlton. So, of course, I like my naval history.
Yes.
And that's about really all I've sort of been doing. I haven't had sort of much other time to do much else.
Yep.
So, yes. But what I need to mention is Brian from
Wargame
Miniatures got in contact with me the other day, and Brian is a great supporter of the show.
Yes, thank you, Brian.
And in the past has sent us a lot of stuff to actually review. And this time around, he has sent us what have you got there, Ian?
Well, Guns, Mr. Hobby. Flat clear and gloss clear But the thing is, these are huge bottles.
No, what size?
Yeah, so the same size bottles as the ones that Mr. Servicer comes in.
Ah.
Yeah, like I've never seen them in such large bottles. So I'll be giving these a good hoy over the weekend.
It does make more sense to sell them in larger.
Yeah,
larger bottles
I've
like
always
that.
said. Remember, I've always said that
You have, yeah.
you should be able to get this
Yep.
stuff in litres. Yeah, so you're
Yep.
looking at 40 millilitres in a bottle, which I think normally you get less than half that
Yep.
in a bottle. So a bottle of this should last a while.
Also, we got from Brian was 3 cans of Mr. Hobby spray clear. So I've got a premium flat top coat in spray can, a rattle can.
Oh, and I like that premium stuff. It's good.
I've got the gloss premium top coat.
And the other one would be semi-gloss.
The semi-gloss. But what's interesting about this, and Ian pointed out, this is in the rattle can version, is that the lid, when you take the lid off, there's a small hole on the bottom of the plastic lid that goes on top. And if you take off the
spray
nozzle, turn the lid upside down.
Put a bit of tissue or something on the top.
Oh, I'd be putting cling wrap over the
No,
top.
because you want it to be able to breathe.
Oh, do you?
You want the gas to be able to get out of there.
Okay. So what it allows you to do is to decant the paint, or in this case it's the lacquer into the lid,
Yeah.
and then put it in your spray airbrush and spray it on.
Which I think is a brilliant
I think
idea.
it's actually brilliant. So I'm going to try that today, this afternoon. We're actually recording on a Sunday today.
Yeah.
The episode will still drop on our normal Wednesdays, but we're recording because we've been with our special guest, Will.
Yes.
So we had to record on the weekend. So I'll try that this afternoon. And again, thanks very much to Brian from...
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Wargame Miniatures, and please...
Get well soon.
Yes. Please drop by and have a look at his website. It's www.wargameminiatures, all one word, .com.au. And additionally, he has also given us a set of Precision Tool Hobby sanding sticks, a set of 6, and some... Oh, let me have a look. Mr. Hobby empty glass jars. And they are going to be given to one of our Patreon supporters. I'm going to randomly select one of our Patreon supporters, and I'll be announcing that at the end of the show who the actual winner of that is, and then I'll get them mailed out to you. So that's pretty cool.
Fan-diddly-tastic.
What should we do now? Should we have listener mail, or do you want to go
do as we do normal, listener mail. So we've got to do that.
Yeah.
Well, now that Ian's done his impression of the Morse code,
I don't need to go in and have it in
no,
there.
you don't need to play it.
Dateline.
All right, first of all, we've got an email from our very good friend Anthony from Goodman Models.
Anthony, yeah, good buddy Anthony.
And he writes in, "G'day." Oh, he actually knows how to type Australian.
He does.
So he writes, "G'day."
Type Australian, okay.
He says, long-time listener, first-time official question. Guys, give me the rundown on using semi-gloss finish on certain aircraft, such as performance team finishes, civil aircraft, etc. Some aircraft definitely have a gloss finish in reality. Do you ever use it? If so, what proportions? Would love to hear your discussion on it.
Ooh, not many aircraft I've built with a glossy finish.
Or semi-gloss. So I'm thinking civil aircraft.
Civil air class.
Couple
Yeah, you don't want to go too high gloss because even shiny aircraft aren't like car finish gloss. I reckon you're pretty right sticking with a semi-gloss.
Yeah, I mean, like, it depends on what kind of civil aviation you're talking about. I mean, if you're like the airline people like to go very glossy, don't they?
Yes.
But if you were to do a Cessna,
the Cessna would just be a matte finish,
Yeah.
unless it's well,
no,
it
you
depends.
wouldn't do a matte finish.
No,
but
you
what
go
you would do is
yeah.
you would do like a somewhat glossy finish,
Well,
but not
the-
super glossy.
Satin
The
almost.
for satin, the ultimate colour, I think satin would work the best for that US dark navy blue they had in the Second World War
Oh, okay.
because that was never flat. They were always a semi-shiny
Yep.
finish.
Yep.
But yeah, like you said, if you're doing civil airliners, yeah, probably go a bit on the glossy side. But for any other aircraft, I wouldn't go. I would not go super gloss. No.
Although I'm just trying to think now, there's What about the air display teams? The different air forces
well,
I'm thinking like the Blue Angels or what's the...
well, years ago I did a Aeromachi from the Australian Roulettes.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I painted that in gloss.
Mm.
Put a gloss high sheen finish on it. And, yeah, it looked very toy-like.
Oh, okay.
But after the years, the glossiness is toned down. And now it actually looks quite good.
Yeah, I mean, like you have to sort of differentiate like between, say, how a brand new car looks, glossiness, compared to a car that's been entered in an auto salon competition and has been polished
concourse condition. Yeah.
So that's kind of the difference between like your 2-pack clears and your regular gloss finishes, right?
Yeah.
Totally agree.
And then if you were to add like dirt and stuff, like just sort of wear on top and make it look like a regular aircraft in use, then you would maybe want to knock it a bit below that, somewhere between satin and gloss.
Oh, yep.
You know what? At the end of the day, you can't go wrong whichever way you chooses, because at some point when an aircraft first rolls fresh out of the factory from Boeing or Airbus, it's going to be a gloss finish as it's delivered.
Depends what aircraft and what year.
Yeah.
When it was, the Second World War.
No, I'm talking about the civil airliners.
Oh, civil airliners, yeah.
So they're going to be a high gloss finish as soon as they roll out.
Mm.
And as they sort of, go longer and longer into the service, the high gloss is going to go to a sort of satin type finish.
Yeah.
With a bit more sort of oil stains and hydraulic stains on it.
Mm.
And so I don't think anything can go wrong depending whichever way he chooses.
Yep.
Just my thoughts.
Yeah.
Even if it gets rained on, even within like its first week of use, I mean that knocks a lot of the shine off.
Well, next time you're stepping on board an aircraft, you know, you go down the aero bridge and you're just about to step across the threshold in the aircraft. Look down the side of the aircraft and
filthy.
Just see the dirt and stuff on
filthy,
it.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, cool. I hope that answers your question, Anthony. And by the way, don't forget to have a look at Anthony's super sanding blocks because they are
freaking
absolutely
awesome.
brilliant.
They are really good.
So, of course, if you want to find out more about them, you can go to goodmanmodels.com.
Oh, and Anthony, make some of those sanding blocks a bit skinnier and longer.
Oh, that's a good thought. So, a different range.
Yeah. Like the size, they're perfect.
Yeah.
I could do with one slightly thinner and slightly longer.
And I believe also could go down one grade, a finer grade, one more grade to be perfect.
So, Anthony, you got your work cut out for you.
Yes.
Funny you mentioned that because I actually hacked up a sanding stick so I could get in a certain area.
Yep.
The other day. Yeah, I basically cut a piece off the end and then cut that in like half the width of a regular sanding stick so I could get in.
Get in there.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that as a product, but I mean, it depends on how much people purchase them, right? I mean,
exactly. It's all if it's viable.
Yeah, but Anthony's super sanding blocks, they're sort of designed for a specific sort of purpose, and they're just great for getting sort of square. The stuff you're talking about, I'd still make them myself to get in there. I had to do it the other day myself as well.
Yeah,
is knock something up like that.
Yeah, because I mean, like not every good idea is a profitable one.
No, that's true.
Oh, very true. Yeah, absolutely. Next, we had an email from Paul Redding, and this is directly directed at Ian, because as we all know, Ian is a huge metalhead fan. And in fact, he's sitting in there wearing a Motorhead T-shirt. And of course, if you must have been living under a rock if you didn't hear about the announcement from Airfix in which they're doing a Heinkel
111
H6, and it's going to have the Motorhead decal scheme for it.
From the Bomber album cover.
So Ian was absolutely foaming at the mouth when he first heard about this, and he missed out on the first tranche of releases.
Yep.
And then Paul Redding sent us an email just notifying us that Airfix are doing
another release.
Yes. How'd you go? Did you order yours yet?
Not yet. I have to buy a new television, so I've got to wait another couple of weeks. It's a problem when your TV cacks itself.
Oh, jeez. But thanks for that, Paul.
No, that's awesome, Paul. Thank you. And I'll definitely will be getting one on my Christmas list.
All right, next up, our good friend Tony Jacob. G'day, Tony.
Hello.
How's that Scriber going, by the way, Julian?
I haven't tested it yet.
Oh, haven't you?
No, because I don't have anything to scribe right now.
Well, you could just get a...
I've got way too many projects started as it is.
Why don't you just get a paint mule out and just try it on there? Because I'm hanging out to see how it goes.
Hey.
Well, no, you have to have a a seam line that you have to scribe, which means you have to glue two pieces together, right?
Just get a bit of plastic and scribe and come back and tell us how it works.
Yeah, but that's not a real test of how
Well,
it
actually,
works.
funny you should say, I bought a scriber the other day.
Yeah.
And I haven't used it yet, but it's actually designed for scribing circles.
Okay.
What?
So it's like one of those knives, the circle cutter knives, like
Yeah.
a standard knife, pencil style knife blade, but
Yes.
it's actually a very thin, pointy knife end that swivels inside the holder.
Oh, seriously?
And this is like with a scribing
does
tool.
it have like a dog leg on it so that it trails?
No.
Okay, so I'm wondering how it works.
Yeah. So I bought one. Well, it didn't cost me all that much, and I bought a few new templates. So when I get the time, I'll give that a go and see how it goes for the circles.
Cool.
Because scribing circles has always been a real nightmare.
Oh, you know my display circle cutter?
Yeah.
It's broken.
What?
Yeah.
How the
How?
heck did you break your display circle cutter?
You know how you put the cutting tool up into that
that spring holder.
That spring
yeah.
holder. You got the nut on top.
Yeah.
The nut on top part's broken.
How'd you do that?
I don't know. And so I can't.
You're a pioneer of doing things that I didn't think were possible.
Yeah.
Well, I'm product testing, and I've product tested this to the
Product
point where
You
it's broken.
lost wheels that I didn't think you could lose.
I found that wheel,
Oh yeah.
so that will come back. That's all working out well.
Yeah, Dave.
Let's get going with
Yes.
with what Tony has to say.
Oh, moving along.
So Tony says, "Hi, Dave, Ian, and Julian, Stuart, and Anthony," because he also
Yep.
talks to our friends over in Canada. First, I came across a new source for photographic reference for my modelling that you might find useful for your own aircraft modelling. It's called Xeno Warbirds on YouTube.
Oh,
And
yes.
that is
Yes.
spelled XENOSWARBIRDS. So I've just popped that into YouTube. You'll I see you've broken a chair, Ian. Oh, you've got the recliner part of it set.
What sort of sorcery is this?
Oh, that's okay. So while I fix your chair, I'll continue on. Finding and using references is a big part of the fun of modelling, so I'd like to hear where you all find yours. I'm pretty sure it would be a great topic and a lot of help to modelers who... Oh, the part of it cut out when I was writing.
Well,
Who know where to look and pick up any new tips for your topics. There are specialist publishers out there like Osprey, Squadron, etc. Yeah, I'm old enough to still remember and prefer the paper, he says, as well as some great websites. I'm sure there would be the same for other types of modelling.
Oh, yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing. Great work. Loving every minute of it.
Yeah, I've got a lot of folders on my computer that just of a certain subject, and as many photos as I can find,
oh yeah.
throw in there, and when you're building, open up.
Well, there's a site called Net Marquettes. I can't remember the exact URL, but so it's net as in like a net, and then Marquettes as in MARQUETTES, and they have a lot of walk around photos and galleries.
Oh,
But
yes, I've heard of that.
If you go looking for like if you're the type of person like me, like, where you'll like P38 walk around, right? You'll find a lot of stuff that comes from that in Google image search.
Yeah.
But I think probably the best way is actually just use your Google image search, right? And there's like a lot of people will try to go too specific when they do a search. That's not how you should do it. You should start with a wide search. Like, so if you're looking, say, for example, the nose landing gear on a P38,
Yep.
right? P38F, right? You don't type in P38F nose landing gear because you'll never find anything. That's too specific a term.
Oh, right, yep.
What you want to do is broaden your search. And if that doesn't return enough, if it returns too many results, then you narrow it down.
Right.
So you start off with, say, P38, right? And see how many walk around photos you can find like that. And if you can't find what you need, then you maybe add another word, see if that narrows it down. And obviously you'll get to a point where it narrows it down too much and you're just not finding anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to go back a step.
Yes.
Right? And also think about the different types of terminology. Not everyone will call it a nose landing gear.
No.
You might just want to go landing gear or Wheel, that's another one, because it's obviously if they've taken a photo of the wheel, they'll also get the landing gear.
Yep.
Things like you got to think about it in those sort of terms.
Yes.
Also, think about it like some people also may not just call it a P-38. They might just call it
a Lightning.
A Lightning. So, different planes have different terminology and names, and, you got to think about not everyone uses the appropriate terminology when they post things up on the internet.
I noticed that.
Yeah. So these can help you search. These tips can help you search for things with a higher degree of accuracy and find things you wouldn't otherwise find.
Yep.
I'm a bit confused because Tony is saying it's Xenos warbirds, and he got it with the X, but on the screenshot it's given me it's spelt with a Z.
Yeah, Xenos.
So it's Xenos. So it's www.
Xenos warbirds.
Zenos.
Yes, Xenos
warbird-videos.com.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yeah, he's got a lot of videos and a lot of very interesting stuff on there.
Very interesting stuff. And Tony reckons it's the best place for looking at World War II aircraft.
Oh,
It
cool.
gives him some great ideas. Our last email is from our friend Eugene again. So Eugene writes, hello, Dave, Ian and Julian. I wrote to you last week to mention that I have no stash, but over the weekend I was gifted a 1/350 scale Hobby Boss USS Arizona.
Oh,
Awesome.
Nice. Good score.
I was wondering if you or any of the benchers can do a quick review of this kit. Plus, I ordered the Edward photo etch and master barrels. Should I get different PE set to improve it more? I build for my pleasure, but this build will be for a competition.
Okay, well, not actually seeing the kit, but for me with trumpeter kits, get as much photo etch as you can.
Do you reckon even go more and get more?
Get as much as you can. How much you feel comfortable putting onto it. Now, trumpeter do the basic lines I find with trumpeter ship kits are great, but the detail is always lacking. I remember when I did the USS England, they didn't even put any doors on any of the superstructures.
Wow.
And that's a major thing. How are they supposed to get into the cabs?
Well, maybe they use magic.
Magic.
Yeah.
That's it. Magnets. They use magnets.
Get comfortable with your super glue and your photo etch.
Yes. Fork yourself out. Get those little display super glue stations. That'd be very handy.
Well, whatever your preferred super glue method is, as long as it has the accuracy needed, then you can properly portion out how much super glue you're applying.
Yep.
And also find, take the time to find the kind of like easy line type stuff for all the rigging and things. Yeah, you got to find one that you think is the best, because once you stick to it, you're not gonna bother buying another one.
I'm like Dave now. I'm a big fan of the Ushi rigging because it's pre-painted. It's black. Before I used to use the clear or the white stuff, and I had to paint it myself, which is really tricky when you're trying to paint rigging.
Yeah.
Whereas this is already black, so you don't have to worry about painting it. Just put it on. Mm-hmm. And barrels. Definitely get some barrels.
Well, he's already got the master barrels.
Nice.
So he's done well there.
Yeah.
The one note of caution is there's a bit of controversy on the colour that the USS Arizona had on her gun turrets.
On the top of the turrets.
Just before Pearl Harbor or during Pearl Harbor. So it might pay to do a bit of a deep dive in and do your research well, depending on when you want to show her as whether you're going to do her in a 1941
or
earlier. So definitely have a hunt around and have a look at that. He also goes on to write, so I hope that helps you out there with that, Eugene. He also goes on to write, I'm amazed that you, Ian and Julian, can remember most all models and their manufacturers plus scales they came in and their variety. Well, that just goes to show we're nerds.
It's the nerd factor coming out there.
I think I always used to boggle my mind about that sort of thing too. Like, how do you remember all these different kits and specific scales and things like that off the top of your head? But now that I'm there, it's just honestly, I think most of it comes from just being in a model club and talking to other people, and they're like, "Oh, don't buy that kit, buy this kit. That's the better one."
And it's also we're doing it every day.
Yeah.
Every single day, even when we're at work, even when we're at home, when we're eating, when we're crapping, no matter, we're thinking models. So we're always thinking.
Well, I'm not, because I have other hobbies as well.
Well, you can always go and also have a look at ScaleMates as well, because that's a sort of go-to web page.
Yeah, I do refer to that as well.
Yeah.
I'm starting to refer to that more often just so I can figure out who made the original kit
and how old
before
the
they pass it
original
off to someone else.
Well, that's like my buffalo. My buffalo's, I don't know, that must have been made in the early 80s. It's that early to me that it's a mixture of raised and recessed panel lines.
Yeah. Well,
and for a Tamiya kit, I've never had to use as much putty as I have in this build.
He also goes on to say that he's got a little modelling tip he'd like to pass on to us.
Yes.
It was to use the Walters Solverset decal setting solution on decal flags on Navy ships. It adds good wrinkles to the flag on ships. Now, I've never tried that because what I do is I get some tin foil, aluminium foil or aluminum foil if you're from North America, and I'll actually white glue the decal onto that because then I can shape it as if it's been flapping in the wind.
Oh.
That's another way of doing it as well.
Interesting.
Probably a bit less fragile as well.
Yeah.
Since it's attached to a physical object rather than to itself.
That's exactly right. And Eugene hails from the McKinstry chapter of IPMS. Now, this is what I've noticed over in IPMS in the United States is that a lot of them seem to be named after war heroes, or people who flew or fought during the war. I think it's a great way of paying homage to history by doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know why we don't do that over here. It's going to be a great idea. But then you got to find somebody who you'd...
who you going to ask?
And, well, not ask, they might be dead already.
Yeah. But then you got their families to deal with.
Well, yeah. But I think it's just an interesting way. I mean, the guys up in Chicago, they do the Butch O'Hare chapter. And obviously these guys down... Well, I don't know where this particular chapter is, Eugene. I can't remember where you're from in the US.
So what was the name they went under, sorry?
The McKinstry.
That's Gus McKinsky, wasn't it?
No, I had it here. Captain James McKinsky.
And what did he fly?
And,
he flew naval, wasn't he?
Beg your pardon. So IPMS McKinstry is in the Northern Illinois branch of the International Plastics Society.
Yep.
It's named after Captain James McKinsky Jr. He was a founding... Captain James McKinsky was a founding member of IPMS. He's also Air Force C-130 pilot who was tragically killed in action in the Vietnam War. Oh, there you go.
There you go. Interesting.
So I just think it's a great way of, honouring, past warriors, etc.
I like it, yeah, I like it, yeah.
Now, I do have one more mail item, but I've got to dig it out. So while I'm doing that, can you guys perhaps go on and have a quick chat about something else?
Yeah, we can talk. What do you want to talk about, Julian?
I don't know. What should we talk about?
That's all right. I found it.
Oh, they found it. Well, there you go. That beat us.
Nice and quick. Okay. This is from Adam Greenwald, and he's saying, Julian, he's talking about photo etch stuff here, and... Julian, I think, favoured the simple folding pliers when it comes to using photo etch.
Yeah, I do.
Other particular brands he has found that are better than others. Thanks, Adam. The original J fanboy, don't let it go to his head. The show keeps getting better.
Right, okay.
All right.
So here is the founding member of the Julian Fanboy Club.
There we go.
Asking you a question.
You guys need to drop that. Like the Tamiya ones have a fairly good design. I do like how the edges of each of the sort of the two pieces that come together on these pliers are beveled so that you can bend your photo etch 90 degrees, bend it a little bit further so that it comes back when it springs back a bit.
Yes.
It'll be at proper 90 degrees. I think that's a pretty good design, but my problem with them is that the pivot point for the scissoring action is not too robust, not too well designed, and it results in at the very tip, which is the part you use most often, that it can move.
You get some lateral movement.
Lateral movement.
Yeah.
It doesn't line up unless you make it line up generally.
Right.
That's my problem with it. That said, I mean, like you could probably get like some shorter, flat pliers. Flat-faced, like, sort of pliers, you can sort of find them around at, like, model shows and things like that. Sometimes people will sell things along those lines.
Yeah.
And because they're shorter and more robust, more along the lines of a conventional set of pliers, they'll they'll have better meeting for that, but they don't have the sort of that angled beveled edge that can make it good for, getting those nice right angles correct, etc.
Yep.
As long as it's like fairly small and thin at the tip, that's what you want it for. Because you want to get into areas that your, screw down folding tools can't get to.
Bug, all that type of stuff.
Because the problem with the bug and all those sort of things is that if you fold it, you have to actually figure out which fold you're going to do first when you get to those really compound kind of things where you have to bend it into like an S shape or something like that, and you're like, well, I can get to that one, but if I bend to that one first, I can't get to the second one.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So the pliers tend to have a bit more sort of flexibility.
Yeah.
And I've got a whole swag of different tools. I mean, there's no one tool that will solve or help you with your photo etch problem. You need a whole swag of them, from rollers to
Rollers
your
are so cool.
bugs to your specialised tools like your tomato tools.
But
and all that.
I would recommend a pair of bending pliers because having owned both types, I use the pliers more often and they're cheaper.
Yeah.
If you're just starting out with photo etch, just buy one of those.
Yep. Sounds good.
There you go.
There you go. As always, if you want to send us an email, we enjoy hearing from you. You can send us an email to onthebench64@gmail.com.
I should say that. So there's the Tamiya ones.
Yes.
And I think it's maybe Meng or Despair or something like that. They're coming out with one too, but I haven't paid much attention to it because I've only sort of seen it's like Bigfoot. It's like it's out there, but you haven't really seen a photo of it yet.
It's coming.
So I think you'll see more of them because anything Tamiya does, people will try to get a slice of that market.
Yep.
All right. So, as I said, on the bench 64@gmail.com. If you want to send us an email, we'll love hearing from you, and more than happy to take your questions, suggestions, criticism, and in Julian's case, his fanboy club fan letter. Yeah.
Yep.
Knock it off, all right.
We should do a T-shirt series.
I'm not the one people are recognising at like model shows. That's Ian. People hear his voice and they're like, "Oh, I know that voice."
Only one clown on the radio sounds like that.
All right, guys, let's have a quick break and we'll come back to talk about what's new in the modelling world. And we're back to have a chat about what's new in the modelling world. And the first thing that caught my eye, this has only got dropped yesterday, was the announcement from Hong Kong Models about their new B17G in 1/48 scale.
So finally there's something to go up against the old Revell monogram kit.
Yeah, so they've got like a 30-second scale kit that's been around a little while.
So it's only to be scaled down from that.
Yep.
Well, I don't think it's a case of just scaling it down. I think there's,
Well, you have to re-engineer portions of it, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you end up with things that are too small.
But it's certainly very interesting because they're saying here's two marking choices are going to be in the box, and it's going to be coming in the fourth quarter of this year. So they're saying in October 2019, which we're almost there, this will be available for purchase. And I think there was nobody sort of saw this coming. It sort of came out of left field.
No, because everyone's just been having a battle with the old monogram Revell kits for 30, 40 years.
Yep. And being a G model too, which I think is one of the most popular models.
Yep.
Now, having a look at the CAD designs here, and the interior detail, if this translates to the actual kit,
it looks quite nice.
There's going to be very little you're going to need to purchase in regards to aftermarket stuff, is there?
Oh, there'll be people find stuff for it. Don't you worry.
Looking at that interior, I reckon that really shows that they've scaled down their 30-second scale kit, because that's the kind of amount of detail you would expect in a 30-second scale kit. But it's probably a bit too much for a 48 scale kit.
Well, considering B17, you're going to see not much at all.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's got all the radio rooms and everything. You can't see in there.
You can't see. That tiny little window you got at the top of the radio room, you don't see much out of it at all. The front cockpit section, you don't see much in that at all because you just got your flat glazings. The only thing you're really going to see any detail in is the nose section.
Looking through the bombardiers area.
Yep. Even the little side blisters or the side windows for the guns.
Yeah, I reckon like half the reason they've done all of that is because they've scaled it down.
Yep.
But it would have cost more to remove all those items and re-engineer all the sprues around it.
Oh, I see. Yep.
Than to just scale it down and push it through.
Yep.
I'll be interested to see what some of the actual pictures of the moulds look like. So that'll be intriguing for me. I'd like to see
So
the detail.
So the two
on
markings, one's all over natural metal.
Yep.
And the other one's the olive drab over grey.
Yes. So one's from the 72nd, you idiot. 322nd
funnily enough,
Bomber Squadron of the 91st
I'm pretty sure,
Bomber
isn't
Group.
that the same bomber group that you got the Chowhound markings from the old monogram kit?
Oh,
because that had the white triangle with the A on it, and that was LG as well.
So
I'm presuming it's probably from the same unit.
Well, did not that designation on the tail, was it not the bomber group or was it the squadron?
I don't know. They might be the bomber group.
Not sure. Correct
Someone will know and tell me I'm wrong, but
yeah,
that's fine.
Still, interesting announcement, and hanging out to see pictures of the actual kit itself.
Yeah, the plastic of it, yes.
It's good that the popular subjects are getting good new toolkits.
Next one is an interesting one. This popped up from Bronco, and it's
raining dong. That sounds so wrong. It's raining dongs.
It's a Chinese Dongfeng 1 ground-to-ground missile, which is basically a copy of the Soviet R2, which is basically a copy of the German V2 rocket. So for those of you who like building your rockets...
In 1/72 scale.
This will be an interesting kit for you. Now,
even the launch platform is nearly identical to a V2.
Yeah.
Well, it worked, so why change it? The thing that looks different to the V2 is I think the fins are longer. But from the fins upwards...
It also looks more long, sort of narrow. And
Yeah, absolutely. But... yeah, I reckon it's...
Project 1059, eh?
pretty cool for those of you who like building their rockets. And in 1/72 scale, they go with quite a lot of other sort of rocket scales as well. Horizon models, for example, because they're all in 72nd scale, so it looked pretty good, showing a progression of rockets as they came up. AK have announced that they're doing OSCAM colour sets, limited edition. It's a box of 4 colours, I believe. Let's have a look. 3 colours.
3 colours.
You get the Australian green, Australian black, and Australian tan. This is for our modern OSCAM camo, which appears on...
the Abrams, the ASLABs, the M113s and so forth, Bushmasters.
Yep, all the trucks, all the equipment that is used by Australian Army.
So having seen our local SMS paints do very, very accurate colours of this type... That tan colour of theirs doesn't look quite right to me.
It looks a bit light.
But it is the printed on the boxing, and it's not necessarily indicative of the actual paint.
Yep.
Also, Mouse House they did a run of enamel paints as well for OSCAM.
Yep.
And Mouse House is a specialist company that does stuff for Australian Armour.
Yep.
And that's another possibility if you still don't mind doing that. But you're right, Julian, that tan looks just a little bit off. And in fact, the boys from Canada were asking us to comment on this because they thought we'd know more about this. And
we've only heard of it.
But even that green looks slightly off to me as well. But you're right, it's only on the side of the box, so it's a bit hard to really tell here. They've got some colour swatches there. The tan then shows up a little bit better. The Australian black is more like as they're showing on the colour swatch here, to be very similar to what you'd call a rubber black, really. Tyre black, yeah. So not that real sort of deep black, but a sort of bit of a lightish hue through it.
Whereas the green's just basically an olive green, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, like we don't actually have the paints to test, but I imagine that you'll within like a month or something, you might see someone who'll have a proper opinion on it. And
these are the AK real colours, so that's their lacquer paints, lacquer range. So, I'll be interested to get. I might even go and get my hands on a set of these just to see how they turn out. So, all good.
Well, we have to sort of uphold our sort of nationality, or sort of national expertise on these things, don't we? As modelers.
Yeah. Okay, Hasegawa, their November releases, and they've got a Machine Krieger announcement here. Ian, what is that? You're a bit of an expert on this stuff.
Well, the first one is the PKA Ulf G. Gustav.
Yep.
Which is just a mobile fighting suit. which I've actually got the Nitto boxing of this one. Woohoo.
It's got windows on it.
Yes, it's got a big window on it. And the other one is a PKA Ulf M. Melusine.
Which doesn't have windows.
Which, yes, doesn't have windows, so I'm presuming that might be one for space or something like that.
Mm.
But wouldn't you want to see where you're going in space as well?
They'd have screens and cameras.
Oh, okay.
He's got a GoPro on the top of his head. So basically, they're just going to be the reboxing of the old Nitto kits, I reckon.
Yep.
Guaranteed.
And decals, 2 types for barking
which
plan.
is normal.
Next one is in 1/24th scale is a Lamborghini Miura.
Lamborghini Miura.
P400 SV with, it's coming with Italian girls.
Ah.
Yes, resin figure.
The Japanese do love having their female figures coming along with their model
They
kits.
do, yes.
The grid girl kind of thing.
Oh, well.
Yes.
Yeah,
So it's a Lamborghini Miura, pop-up headlights. Yeah, 70s.
very uninspiring.
For me, it is, yes.
Oh, I have to agree with you. It does nothing for me whatsoever.
Mm.
So,
Apparently they were a great car at their time, but
well,
yeah, each their own.
I think models of the Lamborghini Miura sort of live and die based on how accurate you can get the paint.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the striking things about that car was like the paint.
or the 1970s orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you can get the paint right, I think it can look good. But if you don't, then it kind of looks like a model.
Correct, yep.
Yep, agree 100%.
Totally agree.
Next announcement from them is from Hasegawa in 1/24th scale, Hollywood celebrity girls.
Oh, wow.
So
where's the Hollywood girl with the chihuahua in her handbag?
Well, I don't think it's that era. I think it's more like, well, the one on the left looks very 1960s,
Yes, she does.
Very hippie,
Yep.
hippie 1960s sort of era, almost.
I don't know about that.
No, I feel
I don't know.
a very
But
long,
it's
long
for
drapey clothes.
honestly, it's for a niche market.
Well, the sunglasses can be removed or attached as you wish to your model.
Whoopie-doo.
All right, let's move on to the next one then.
That looks a bit more exciting.
This is a re-release. This is
DSV
the
Shinkei.
6,500 seabed diorama set. Now, this is in 1/72nd scale. It's a Japanese submersible.
It's like deep sea exploration.
Yep, and this kit is just a rebox of a kit that they've done many times before. I've seen it built. It looks really good when
Does
it's
it
done.
come with a ghost shark? Because the artwork on the cover's got a ghost shark.
Features the deep sea diving vehicle, the
With a seabed
Sin Cara
diorama.
submersible vehicle, together the seabed diorama and support base for display, with deep sea creature acrylic plates. I'm not quite sure what that means.
Not sure. Scroll down, see if it's got any pictures.
Well, it doesn't. No.
Well, there you go. If you like your submersibles, though, and particularly your
That's not a
non-military
ghost
ones,
shark. It's a goblin shark, sorry. Looking at the teeth and the face.
if you like your submarines, particularly your non-military ones, because they're very few and far between, this is definitely something that you need to go
Very
and
interesting
grab.
little kit.
And it makes a great kit. Next we have... Jeez, why are we getting this from... Okay. In 1/12th scale, 12 Egg Girls Collection number 5, Ryo Asaka,
Who's a maid?
and dressed in a maid
It's an
suit.
anime character.
It's an anime character.
Why, whatever.
Let's move on, gents. In 1/72nd scale, they're doing the VF-31E Siegfried Rena Prowler colour movie version Macross.
They're a cool looking ship, aren't they?
Yeah.
They are. Model length is about 261 millimeters by about 192 millimeters wide.
Yeah. I mean, like, this is basically like a jet fighter kind of thing. Sci-fi
space jet fighter, yeah.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing that Bandai would do if Bandai owned the rights to it.
Yes.
But no, they don't. And Hasegawa do.
Yes.
And Hasegawa are quite prepared to like flog that dead horse.
Yeah.
Oh, they ever.
Next up, we have a Kawasaki KH250B3. I used to have a Kawasaki KH, was it 80 or 180?
I don't know. It was
it
yours.
was a two-stroke. It was the worst motorcycle ever because you'd be belting down the highway, and the most I could get out of it must have been an 80cc. Because the most I could get out of it was about 80 kilometres an hour, hence the 80 thing. And it was two-stroke, and it was just a dog of a bike. But anyway, that's Memories from many years ago.
And that's in 1/12 scale.
Yeah, so it should, I haven't built a motorcycle kit for a long time.
Yeah,
I
especially
should go
something
back
from like the late 70s.
Yeah.
Classic.
I don't think I'd choose that one. I'd go
Well,
BMW.
I think like the big downside is where the chrome plating is and all that sort of stuff. Because I think you need good engineering about the chrome plated parts these days. Otherwise, when you clip it off the sprue, you just end up with whole sections that you've got no chrome on them.
Too true.
Yeah, because as Julian's saying, the front fenders, the wheels, and additional plastic parts are all chrome plated. All right. Next up in 1/72 scales, the MI-24 Hind UAV. It's a UAV version.
Yeah.
Does it exist, or is it just one of these
Don't know.
imaginary?
Well, it says new resin parts for the cockpit.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, do the Russians actually have a Hind as a UAV?
Well, it's a drone version, right? There's no pilot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But is it a real thing, or we don't know?
Don't know. I'll have to wait and see.
Who knows?
Well, the old Kiowas,
Kiowas,
yeah, they've been
droned.
They've been droned now. They're used on naval ships as I think they're called the Sea Scouts or something. I might be wrong about that, but they've been successfully used by US Navy, and I think even the Australian Navy might have been looking at them at one point.
Yep.
So,
Cool.
Well, that's all the announcements from Hasegawa. Last but not least, we've got 4 items from Trumpeter for September release. The first one is a Russian 9A53 Urgan MLRS Tornado in 1/35 scale. So basically it's a Mylars type vehicle, Russian version of
It's
it.
a Russian Patriot.
Yeah.
No, Mylars.
Mylars, sorry.
It's one of their big 8-wheel vehicles, the ones that are
with
used to
rocket on
carry
the
big rockets and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep. But in 1/35 scale, this thing's going to be huge.
Oh, yeah.
They've got a lot of different variants of these things.
Yes, too true.
Total parts 980. Get copper cables with it. Total sprues 20. Gee, that's a lot, isn't it?
Mm.
Let's get right down to the chassis and everything if they're going down to that parts count level
would be.
980. I've got some diagrams there showing the pictures of it, and there's
That's a lot of parts.
a lot of parts. The main tyres are hollow rubber with very good tread pattern, and the windshield and side windows are made of clear plastic parts with photo etch parts on 2 frets. Next one is a Flak Panther Flak Rake Reinen Chocolate.
All right, it's a Flak Panther.
Thank you.
With an 8.8 centimetre Flak Racket Rain Tochter.
This has to be a paper Panther.
Yeah, basically it's a Panther with a rocket, a little, what do you call it, like a little.
Anti-aircraft.
No, I wouldn't. I don't know.
It's like
they're anti-aircraft.
They were anti-aircraft. So the Germans were sort of looking at doing that, and that first air-to-surface missile. And
You mean surface to air?
Yeah, designed by Rheinmetall.
What did I say? Yeah, surface to air. Thank you. Yeah, Sam.
Yeah, Sam.
But yeah, definitely paper Panther. This thing would never have existed.
I've seen people do these things where they've actually done the fins on the rocket thing wood.
Yes.
Wood. Yeah,
Ushi.
Ushi uses they use the Ushi
Alex was
decals.
telling us last one, how we use the decals on that.
Look pretty cool.
Yeah.
Next in 1/35 scale is the M4 command and control vehicle.
That looks pretty cool.
So basically, it's the same chassis as the American Mylars, and what they've done is to just put a big box in the back, so it's a command and control vehicle. The role that used to be done by the M113s.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is updated. It looks pretty cool if you're into your armour collection, your modern military armour collection.
I think it'd make a fairly good sort of subject for a modern Middle East diorama kind of setup.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. No, looks quite nice.
Individual link
links,
tracks, which is great. And yeah, should be a great kit.
Nice, yes.
Next, we get a BMD for airborne fighting infantry vehicle. It's a Russian one, and this was specifically designed to be air portable to support the Russian airborne forces during the Cold War. Not only was it air transportable, but I believe they even sort of...
I think this is a bit more modern than that. It says units in 2005. And you can tell by the sort of colour schemes, and it's sort of a more recent thing. Basically, I think it's an evolution of the BMP.
Just upgunned, I've got to say, actually.
Modernised. Yeah.
That's-
And
based on the same
being
one.
airborne, it'd probably be lightened up as well.
So that goes on to say some of the older BMD3s are being upgraded to the BMD4. So the vehicle's no longer in production. I think they're just going through and just redoing the old ones and upgrading them. They're saying about 60 of these are in service. It's basically the Russian version of the Sheridan tank. So you got something that's air portable to provide the airborne troops with some armour support, which is pretty cool if you like your stuff. Individual track links, which is a big plus.
Bit of photo etch and a little bit of copper for a cable.
There you go. Got everything you need.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's it for what's new in the modelling world. Do you guys have any news you want to add?
No, nothing new from me.
Nope.
Okay, cool. Well, I think having said that, we might have our interview or go across to have a chat with Will about injection moulding.
Sounds like
plastics.
a plan.
How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right, no worries. Back shortly. And hello and welcome back. And we have our special guest with us, Will Pattison. G'day, Will.
Hey, how's it going down under?
It's not too bad, actually.
Fantastic.
We're just coming into we are in our spring now, so
Yep.
Michelle's happy because all the plants are blooming outside, and it's not as cold anymore. I got my gas bill the other day for winter, $800
Ouch.
for heating. I couldn't believe it, $800. Bring on summer.
Yep.
So, Will, you're here to join us, and we're going to talk about injection moulding, so we can explain to people how injection moulding works and all that. But before we do that, why don't you introduce yourself to our benchers by just giving a bit of a chat about what you do, who you are, what type of modelling stuff you enjoy, etc., etc.
Okay, sure, yeah. So I've been a model maker off and on, I guess. Well, mostly off. I mean, like a lot of guys, I did it when I was a kid. Discovered, cars and motorcycles and beer and girls, and didn't come back to it until I was in my 40s. And that was the result of a bad injury that I suffered about 10 years ago. And model making was a good way for me to try and rebuild my fine motor skills, because I was actually paralyzed in an accident.
Wow.
Yeah, I was actually paralyzed from the neck down, and fortunately have made a lot of recovery. I mean, I can walk and handle a lot of things, not anything like normal, but I've been real fortunate in that aspect, and model building has been a huge thing for me, because not only has it been a great way for me to rebuild those my dexterity, but it got me involved in model making groups on Facebook. I'm one of the administrators over at the maybe infamous Scale Modelers Critique group. We have quite a collection of characters in there who, it's just kind of a safe space for people who go hard and like to really nerd out on every aspect of scale modeling.
Yeah, sure.
And, so we do talk technology a lot. We love a well-engineered kit, and I have a mechanical engineering background. I actually have a master's degree in mechanical engineering, and I did my graduate project on product development using 3D printing.
Oh, okay.
And this was like 25 years ago at this point. I think a lot of people don't realize it's been around that long.
Yes, it has.
But that must have been right on the cusp of 3D printing when it's starting to come in.
It was, yeah. We were on the bleeding edge. In fact, my first job was as a sales engineer with a company that pioneered a technology called selective laser sintering. It's one of the 3D printing technologies that's still in use. And so I traveled all over the world working with customers on that technology, and then I went into actual product design and spent a lot of time doing injection molding design. And so I was lucky enough. I'm just a hands-on guy, and so I spent a lot of time with tool and die makers. They love it when an engineer actually comes in the shop. So, yeah, I mean, that's like they'll talk to you all day,
Yeah.
and so I learned a lot, and spent a lot of time on the injection molding floor, and so it's kind of cool because when I'm looking at a scale model, I can see it both as a model maker and as an engineer, and so there you go.
Well, my background many, many years ago, one of my first jobs was an injection molding shop, actually. And then
cool.
I spent about 10 years in the plastics industry, 10 to 15 years, but it was mainly blow molding. So making things
Yeah,
like,
whole different deal.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
making things like plastic milk bottles and
Right,
all that
right.
sort of stuff. And geez, they even blow mold canoes now, plastic
Yeah.
canoes, yeah.
Yep.
Great
Blow
big-
molds can be enormous.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And of course, you get to your rotational moldings where they do those great
right.
big
Water tanks.
and
Yep.
stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So let's step back and go right to the top. So in our hobby, most kits, the majority, I'd say probably 99% probably, is in what we call injection molding. So what do we mean by injection molding? What do you want to step through then and explain what that process is?
Well, that's just basically, taking a polymer, a thermoplastic, meaning a plastic that will melt, and squirting it into a mold at a high enough temperature that it's basically liquid. And that's different from a thermoset, which is what that other 1% of kits is made out of. That's that's your resins, that's epoxies, that's urethanes, that's things like that can be molded when they're in a liquid state, but they don't melt. So they just a different chemical composition.
Yep.
Sure. And the actual plastic that we use with our kits is styrene. And,
Polystyrene, right, yeah.
And the main reason that they use polystyrene is against, say, polyethylene is because polystyrene has a very low shrinkage rate. And that's why they use that's why they use it to make rulers, for example, because you can't have.
It's one reason for sure. It has a low shrinkage rate. It's cheap. I mean, it's probably one of the cheapest plastics out there. You can blend it with all kinds of modifiers to make it do just about anything you want it to. But it has the key property of being a solvent melting plastic. So you guys use Tamiya Extra Thin or
Yep.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I mean, it melts under certain solvents, whereas a lot of plastics don't. Like if you ever try and use Extra Thin on ABS, it doesn't work that good.
No, it doesn't work at all.
Makes a mess.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's perfect material.
when we're talking about sort of, because I think it was last episode we were sort of ruminating on how much it costs to sort of produce a mold or even to develop a kit. And I think that you find that the largest cost is the actual development or the manufacturing of the mold itself. These days, and correct me if I'm wrong because I've been out of it for a while, is that the mold itself is the part in which the plastic cools, and there's water and everything that goes in there to cool it down rapidly. It's mainly aluminium these days. Is that correct?
Well, sometimes aluminum is a great material for an injection mold if you have really simple parts and it's going to be a relatively short run, which in the real world of injection molding, anything under 100,000 shots is considered short run. And you can do hard aluminum molds. It's easy to cut on a CNC machining center, and so that makes it cheaper.
Yep.
But it has some disadvantages. Even with relatively friendly plastics like polystyrene, aluminum will wear faster, and you can run into just pure mechanical problems because it's not as hard, obviously, as tool steel. So what they'll do a lot of times is they'll make the structure of the mold out of aluminum, and then they'll make what they call the inserts out of a material called beryllium copper. And like I've seen Edward sometimes will publish pictures on Facebook of some of their molds, and they have a kind of a goldish coppery looking color to them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what that is beryllium copper. It's a really hard material.
Yeah, well, beryllium is known to be a very hard compound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So, like I think Special Hobby, I think they may use aluminum tooling. It's just one of those things where it depends on how much capital you've got for tooling, how complex the parts are. I mean, there's a lot of decisions that go into a lot of things that go into making that decision. But like the big guys, Tamiya, Bandai, those guys, they're using hard steel tool.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And slide molding is a new sort of, the technology itself is not so much new, but certainly in the manufacturing and the modelling world it is, and it's producing some amazing results from that. I'm thinking of the latest AMK F14 Tomcat, for example. Some of the pictures we've seen of the parts in there which have been slide molded. The results are getting just sensational.
Yeah, slides open up a whole new world, and you're right. It's really not a new technology. I mean, it's been around for decades, but like everything, it's gotten a lot cheaper. And the truth, though, is that a lot of what people think is slide molded is actually a lot less complicated even than that. They use things called lifters that basically are just little pieces of spring steel. Like, if you've got to mold the open end of a Spitfire exhaust, for example.
Yeah.
The steel doesn't have to move very far at all to make that happen. And so you don't need a big complicated mechanism to do that. And they use these little things called lifters that they've got cams and all kinds of things. But if you just sort of imagine like the hasp on a door, right? When you shut the door, it slides back and then pops into the hole in the door frame.
Yep.
A lifter's kind of the same thing, and so they can do a lot of neat stuff with that technology.
So coming back to the cost of the actual mold, is that something you also agree would be the actual highest part of manufacturing the actual kit itself?
Yeah,
developing
100%.
the mold. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. The tool steel. I mean, the tool itself is a huge expense. I was briefly involved in a project a couple of years ago with a model kit company that I can't name. The project ended up they decided not to do it. But while we were working on it, I had a lot of good conversations with those guys, and they told me that you can kind of, as a rule of thumb, estimate about $1,000 a cavity. And
wow.
For people that don't know, the cavity is just a term for every single part on the sprue is represented by a cavity in the tool.
Yep.
So you got to imagine if you've got a kit that's got 100 parts or 200 parts or 500 parts, you could easily spend $500,000 on tooling.
Wow.
And yeah, so it can get pretty gnarly. I mean, on the other hand, you might get away with spending 50 or 100,000. It depends on the nature of the parts. I mean, obviously not every part's the same.
So that means that Tamiya and Dragon and Bronco must spend a fortune on their tooling.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I mean, that's really interesting to me because companies like Mini Art have a lot of parts per kit.
Yeah.
Really high part counts. And a lot of people will say, oh, these kits are, the reason why they got so many parts is because they had to break the model down into more pieces to get around the fact that they don't slide mold or anything. But where would the trade-off be? Because, I mean, there's obviously a cost involved in that technology too.
It is. I mean, and there's no real rule of thumb because, again, it just depends on the specific case and the shape of the parts. Like I built the Mini Art D7, their bulldozer kit, which if you want a kit that'll make a man out of you, that's I mean, it's gnarly. I still carry the scars from that. but it's like 700 parts, and half of those parts are tracks.
Yeah.
And none of them, as far as I remember, were slide molded. So it just depends. I mean, if it costs you a huge amount of money to put action on a tool, and there's only like, one or two parts that require it, you might be better off to just have an insert and a different, chunk of the tool. It just, I couldn't say that there's a specific rule about how you would decide that.
A lot of these larger manufacturers, though, I'm thinking about, Trumpeter, perhaps Tamiya, they'd have in-house tool makers anyway, so a lot of their costs are kept down that way. They're not outsourcing the requirement to have the mold manufactured.
Yeah, being vertically integrated helps a lot, and some of these guys, I won't mention any names, but there are some model kit companies out there who basically are doing the model kit thing as a side business, and their main business is tooling. So they can sort of play some financial games as well. So, it just depends.
Yeah, sure. Well, because I know there's a couple of guys here in Australia who started doing some production moulding themselves, and John was one of who sadly passed away a couple of years ago. We got a good friend from Horizon Models up in New South Wales who's building the rocket series, the Mercury and the Atlas series rockets in 1/72nd scale. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming those guys, obviously they're going off to China and just getting they're doing the CAD stuff themselves here, and then getting the mold built and developed, and also, I guess, produced over in China, because China's a place where the costs have just driven everything right down.
Yeah, and that's been true for a long time. I farmed out tooling in China 20 years ago when I was working as an engineer, and it definitely is the way to go, because you can get good quality at a much lower price.
The only thing with China is you run the risk of your mold sort of being copied and that same kit popping up under a different brand name elsewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an issue for sure.
Absolutely.
I would imagine there would be, like, in the sort of developmental stages for getting the kit right so that you don't get sync marks and all that sort of thing, there would be a lot of back and forth, trial and error to refine the process and get it just right. I imagine, like, working with China, that would be more difficult.
It can be. I mean, I've done it, and it can be. But technology and being able to fire up a video chat and trade files on the internet makes things a lot easier. But ideally, you need to be able to run in parallel, so that you're not making the kind of mistakes that are going to upset model makers. I mean, the kind of things I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, we certainly do.
I mean, we've all seen those kits where we were like, obviously the guy who designed this has never built a model.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you probably weren't wrong.
Yeah, I can think of one 48 scale Russian fighter that falls into that one by a certain brand.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can guess which one you're talking about. But
Yes.
Which is such a shame when you think about it, because they've gone to all that expense and cost and got something as basic as that wrong. And it's from that point of view, it's just so disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's frustrating, and I don't know how the decisions are made and what the rationale is on the other end, but I guess at a certain point they've decided how they're going to make their money, and it is what it is.
Yep.
You either like it or you don't.
That's
so.
it.
For sure.
Either spend your money or you don't.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any manufacturing still done in the US of model kits anymore, or that's all gone by the wayside now?
There's one company I know of. I don't know if they're making any new stuff, but there was a little company called Williams Brothers down in Texas that
Yes.
doing some real short run injection molded classic race planes. I've got their GB sitting on my shelf.
Which one, the yellow or the white one?
It's the red and white one.
Yep, that's one I used to have when I was a youngster.
Yeah, and I've looked at the kit enough to know that I'm not in a hurry to do it.
No, take your time.
Yeah, but I respect what those guys are doing, because it's it's not cheap. but I think I don't know. You may remember better than I do. That part's got probably less than 50 parts.
Oh, easy. I'd say be pushing to even get close to 50 on that one.
Yeah, it's basically a fuselage, wings, wheels, and a prop.
Yeah,
and
very basic cockpit, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean they might have got away with tooling for $50,000-$60,000. Who knows?
Yeah. I think it's probably got less pieces than their little Ford Flivver.
May have.
They bought out in 48 scale, which was a fantastic little kit.
Yeah.
Good old Williams brothers.
But that's what you got to do sometimes.
That's it.
If you really love that particular subject, then you got to deal with whatever it is. Right?
That's it. Yeah, you just go with what you can get. Pretty much.
Everything is buildable. It's just a matter of how bad you want to do it.
Exactly.
Right.
Totally.
It's a matter of how much of a man you are as well.
Yep.
I got to admit to being a bit of a girl with some of the kits I've got in there, so I've got some horror stories there.
Be stubborn like me.
I just can't be stubborn. I just, at some point you got to either, bite the bullet and walk away, or you can be stubborn like you, I guess, Ian, and continue on. But it's a point where my enjoyment overlaps the frustration, and I've got a very sort of low tolerance to being, having all that frustration.
And so that intrigues me about you, Dave, because you build freaking 1/350 scale ships.
Yeah, so
They're frustrating to build.
No, I find them in particular.
Oh, they can be. Build a carrier.
Oh, you just want him to suffer like you have.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, one day I might build a carrier.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, some of the issues that we see in kits, like will have
Short
shots,
swirls,
flash, all that type of stuff. Do you want to step us through some of those faults and perhaps explain why we're seeing them?
Sure. The one that's most common, Julian mentioned a minute ago, sink marks.
Yeah.
That's just basically differential shrinkage because honestly, it's an engineering issue. There's rules that you can kind of follow as a design engineer that will help you prevent, like when you have, say, a rib on the inside of a fuselage wall, for example. There's rules about how thick it can be before it starts to cause shrinkage. That's just an engineering thing. The swirl marks that you were talking about, that's not so much a defect as it's just a flow phenomenon.
Right.
But what's weird about those, and I've seen this on some car model kits, is that where you get flow fronts meeting in a mold, you get the density seems to be a little different. And there are certain, if you have really hot paint, some of the car modeling guys like to use zero paint.
Yeah, the zero paints. Yep.
They will sometimes cause those flow boundaries to soften, and they'll show up as almost like a seam line that you didn't have before you painted.
Oh, that'd be annoying.
So that's annoying. That can be frustrating. Short shots are just purely a matter of not having the mold packed hard enough. They just don't have the parameters on the press set properly to get complete fill, and that happens as you're developing your molding cycle because every tool is different.
Yep.
But what it just really comes down to QC. I mean, how closely are they looking at the parts before they go into the boxes?
Yeah, exactly right.
The one though that I really get annoyed with the most is flash and parting line witnesses. Because if you're super picky, you're going to be in there filing and scraping and sanding all of those witness marks off. And that, a certain amount of it is just going to happen. There's just no way to avoid it because the mold has to split someplace, right?
Yeah.
I just really don't like it when you get mold misalignment.
That's even worse.
That sucks.
Yeah, that's really irritating because that's purely a tool making issue. Somebody, or a setup issue. Somebody just wasn't paying attention. I've built a couple of the Accurate Miniatures B25 Mitchells, and mold misalignment is a problem with that kit. Doesn't seem to matter whether it was original AccuMini or it's the Academy boxing or whatever. There's mold misalignment, and it's always on like the landing gear, right?
Yes, yeah. Anything that's round or tubular.
Which is the worst part. It's so hard to clean up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's super frustrating.
Which is something you can expect from an old kit that's been around. Like the molds are at least 20 years old, like some of the old Airfix stuff that they're still reusing. But for a new one, for a new kit, you shouldn't get that in a brand new boxing.
No, you shouldn't. And that particular one, it was that way when it was brand new.
Yeah.
But that's just a defect in tooling, and I get frustrated with it because I've been in the tool and die shops, and I know there's no excuse for it. So
every time you see it, you just get even twice as mad.
Yeah, it annoys me. It's like a curse. It's like a curse to know what I know.
Yeah.
But I think the one that everybody loves to hate the most is ejector pin marks, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep. Which you need to push the plastic out of the mold to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, for the mostly you do, and the unfortunate thing is that they they're always going to be on the core side of the tool. So, like if you think about molding a half of a sphere that's hollow, or like an airplane fuselage, the cavity is the part that makes the outside of the fuselage that you see.
Yep.
The core is the part that makes the inside of the fuselage, and the ejectors are always going to be on the core. But sometimes, as you know, that's also the side that you have to look at, like a cockpit tub, for example.
Yes.
And so it's a necessary evil, but what you hope is that they didn't just throw the thing over the wall to the mold makers and say, hey, make a mold. Because those guys don't know. They don't know that we get irritated because we have to, fill an ejector pin mark on the inside of a cockpit wall. They just think they're just concerned about getting the part out. And what's really nice is when you can see that the sprue was thoughtfully engineered, and the ejector pads are on the outside of the part, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Those are always nice. So again, that's just an engineering issue at the tooling end. And if the kit company is not managing the project all the way downstream, that's when you get stuff that infuriates model makers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
And a lot of this, not so much the ejector pin marks, but things like the flash and the short shots, even the warping that you get with some kits, which is, I think that's because they haven't put enough cooling, or they've opened up the molds too quickly, and it causes the warping.
Yeah, it's just process issues.
But a lot of that should be picked up by the quality control, and that's another point that annoys me. And I guess it should annoy me, because when you think about it, the person who's sitting at the end of a line watching all these plastic parts go past them, you know what? They're not paid a huge amount of money, so their attention to detail probably isn't going to be right up there as we would expect it to be.
Plus, they're not model builders.
Yeah, and they're not model builders. They're just, factory worker. Somebody in from the province who, 6 days ago used to work on a farm, and now they've got their dream job of working in the factory.
Yeah, and as a strategic thing, I have to believe that at a higher level, these kit companies, they know that we're a stubborn bunch, and we're going to just figure out a way to fix it. And they, so maybe a little bit of the QC can slip a little bit. They don't have to care quite as much as it would be if it were an iPhone,
Yeah,
Yes.
true. But there are some companies that have, lifted themselves up. And I'm thinking, Wingnut Wings. I'm thinking Tamiya. I haven't had a bad Tamiya kit ever. Bandai certainly I've never heard of any issues with Bandai kits in regards to quality control. So there are some companies up there that do sort of aspire to what we modelers hope they will aspire to. There's just some that just don't seem to.
They just did it for the money.
To a certain degree, that's part of what you pay for with more expensive kits.
Sure.
But that's another one that kind of rubs me a little bit, because people say, oh, well, let's take Revell, for example. Their kits are less expensive, but, they tend to have a few more issues. And people will say, well, but it's cheaper. And that kind of applies, but the thing that people don't understand about the tooling aspect of it is that a lot of what the effect on their retail price is from the tooling cost is purely based on how they finance the tool. So like if they want to make their kit 5 times cheaper, they can effectively just take 5 times longer to amortize that cost. So it doesn't really, you can't really say that cost is a direct indicator of quality, if that makes sense.
Yep, sure. And it's interesting you raise Revell, because I think last episode Revell, we were talking about some of the new kit announcements, and they've got the new, an old Puma, which was the old Matchbox 176 scale, which they've just re-released. And, gee, that shows that those molds are still in pretty good nick.
Yeah, and they probably paid for themselves a long time ago.
Yeah. That's money for jam now.
Definitely.
Yep, pure profit.
So as we get more and more into the 21st century, we're sort of moving away now from, well, not moving away. There's now an opportunity for the average modeler now to have access to making their own molds through 3D printing process.
Yeah.
Well, I've got no idea what 3D printing is. Do you want to run me through the cliff notes on what 3D printing is, and then we might take the conversation from there?
Well, 3D printing is kind of an umbrella. It's a catch-all kind of name that a lot of people think it applies to one particular technology, but it actually covers 3 or 4 of them. And as I was saying before, it's been around. All these technologies have been around for 25 or 30 years, but as the technology has made things cheaper and made things more accessible, we've all heard a lot more about 3D printing over the last 5 or 10 years. And but the basic thing is that you're going to take a digital file, a 3-dimensional computer model of whatever your object is, and you're going to slice it really thin. Just imagine that you have a rectangular block, and it's like the size and shape of a deck of cards. So you're going to digitally turn it into a deck of cards, and then take each one of those cards, and you're going to print that as a layer in some type of material. And you'll keep doing that until you've converted it into a physical object, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And there's 3 or 4 main ways that happens. People are really familiar with fused deposition modeling, FDM. That's the one that's the cheapest. You can buy those things for a couple $100, because basically all they're doing is taking a plastic string and heating it up to the melting point and squirting it out of a nozzle. So it's like a computer-controlled tube of toothpaste.
Yes, yeah. And that's the 3D printing that I'm most sort of I'd recognise as 3D printing as such.
Right, and it's very useful for a lot of things that need to be strong and relatively cheap, to make as a prototype, but not necessarily very detailed, because FDM tends to suffer in terms of surface finish and the resolution that you can get out of it. So that's important for us, because we tend to make things that need to be, smooth and shiny and have little bitty tiny details on them. And that's where SLA comes in. And SLA was the original 3D printing technology, and it stands basically for stereolithography apparatus. And they all use a resin that cures with ultraviolet or laser light. And so you create each one of those layers by drawing a laser beam across the surface of a vat of liquid resin. I mean, it's a lot like, have you guys ever used UV glue?
No, I haven't yet.
No, I've seen it, but never had a chance to use it as yet.
So it's super handy. Like Bondic is one of the brand names. Anyway, they use it at the dentist.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a clear liquid. You shine a UV or a black light on it, and it hardens almost instantly. That's basically all that's happening in an SLA machine. It's just that it's being done precisely with a laser, or the newer generation of machines that has really brought the cost down uses DLP technology. And DLP just stands for digital light projection, which is a technology that Texas Instruments invented about 20 years ago for big projection televisions. And so what they do is, instead of drawing each layer with a laser beam, they basically just project a mask of the entire layer onto the surface of the resin, and then shine the UV light through that from a lamp rather than a laser. So it makes it super fast and super cheap. And so now you can buy something like an anycubic photon for like $300 when they're on sale, and they are amazing. I mean, they will do stuff it blows my mind. 5 years ago, I was saying, no, there's not going to be anything that's good enough for model makers anytime soon. And I was, happy to be proven wrong on that score.
Yeah, I've got to say, myself, I've used a lot of the stuff I could get off Shapeways for me ship modelling.
Right.
And the detail on some of these small 1 to 350 scale pieces is phenomenal. It's brilliant.
And Shapeways is okay, but let me tell you, man, you can go so much farther beyond what Shapeways can do now on your own desktop. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I've actually seen the one you're talking about, the anycubic photon in action, and it is definitely model makers style 3D printing. Really high resolution,
smooth,
small parts generally,
smooth parts as well.
Yeah, I think I've seen maybe you can shed some light on this, but I remember seeing something about, because I know that with the anycubic photon, you can visually see the layers, but you can't really feel them. Is that about right?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much true with a couple of those technologies. In fact, what it's getting to be was more of an issue with something like the photon is the aliasing, because now you've got to deal with the pixels, and the pixels are more of an issue than the layer thickness. So, there's always a gotcha in there somewhere. It's never going to be as good as a polished injection mold. But if you want to, create your own detail parts, you can get, Fusion 360 is a fantastic, almost enterprise level CAD package that you can run at home. You can design your own cool stuff and then, go print it in your workshop, or there's lots of people out there who will do it. It's just unbelievable how accessible it is.
One thing that I found very funny about a lot of the videos out there talking about that anycubic photon is that because it uses light activated resin or whatever it is, a lot of people complain that it made a smell, right? You can smell the chemicals and stuff.
Right, and I'm like,
that. No, we don't care about that stuff at all.
Right, we're modelers. I'm like, and
if it doesn't smell, there's something wrong.
Exactly.
Right, good stuff always smells the worst. Right?
Too true.
So these, or I guess you're calling them the SLAs, are perhaps the best ones. What sort of cost are they going for to have one in your hobby room now?
No, well, you can easily get a photo. I mean, guys in Scale Modelers Critique Group have been buying them up like crazy lately, and I know they've been finding some good deals on them for like $300. But the thing you have to keep in mind with something like with really any resin printer is the cost to get in is cheap, but the materials are not necessarily cheap, and there's an expiration date on all of them. So, you have to, they're kind of a mess. You got to dump the resin out after you're done building your parts and put it back in the bottle. Otherwise it's going to go off and you won't be able to use it again. So there are some things that you have to consider. It's not like owning an inkjet printer.
Yeah.
It's not that simple. And honestly, like for me, I do my own design work. I've got Fusion 360, but I have no desire to own a printer. I'm more than happy to let somebody else pay the cost of obsolescence and storage and operation. And there's so many, I mean, we've got guys on our group who are like, hey, yeah, I can build some parts for you, whatever, just send me the files. So it's kind of a community thing that's pretty cool as well. And people share designs, and it's good stuff, man.
Yeah,
it definitely sounds like it, yeah.
But we're not,
especially since it's very easy for one person to design it for their preferred scale, and you just put your hand up and you say, can I get that in a different scale? And they just digitally increase the scaling, right?
Pretty much, because that's a little harder to do with injection molding, but you can scale parts for 3D printing all day long with pretty much no consequence.
Yeah, because I had them do that for me, scale them down to 1 to 350, and the guy on Shapeways did it for me. Not a problem, no extra cost.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Wow. So it's certainly the way to go, but certainly not something that's going to replace injection molding just yet.
Not anytime soon. We're gonna have to be pushing atoms around before that's really gonna happen for us. There's just it's like Julian was saying, there's layer lines. No matter how thin you get the layer, no matter how good your laser controller is or whatever it is, there's going to be an artifact there that is still going to be bigger than any defect you'll find on the surface of a diamond polished injection mold. So, it's got its limits, but when you when you need parts that you can't get anywhere else, obviously it doesn't matter, right?
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Totally
and if you want to sort of be a one step ahead of the crowd, or be above the crowd as well, and sort of have your kit really sort of shine at a model competition, you're going to go.
If you want to go off road,
Yeah,
exactly. It turns us all into master scratch builders.
Yes, I think it was the first company I dealt with 3D printing was Gas Patch.
Oh yeah. They've done some good stuff.
They do cool stuff.
They got some beautiful little items that you can get through.
Have you guys seen the stuff from Tom Annie's?
No, I haven't. No.
He's a really good model maker. I think he's either in the UK or in Germany, but his company is just spelled ANYZ. And I know one of you guys is building the 1/24th scale Hellcat, right?
Yeah, it's me.
So he's got a full set of spark plugs.
Oh, I have seen that, and you can get the leads and everything. Yes, I have seen that. Yeah.
Well, he's printing all that stuff on his Photon.
Oh, right. And they look very nice looking spark plugs too. You can get through it.
That's the kind of resolution you can get out of one of those things.
Yeah,
man, it's amazing.
Too true.
It's absolutely amazing.
Totally agree.
Yeah, all you need is the dexterity to paint it.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. Too true, mate.
Oh, gee. So, what's happening in your part of the world at the moment, then, Will? What's it like down where you are? You've been in model shows lately. Interested to hear what's happening in the US scene.
Oh, model shows for me, I live out in the middle of nowhere. There's not a model show within 500 miles of me ever.
Oh, that'd suck. That'd suck.
Yeah, so it's just it's just not a thing here. I mean, and that's true for a lot of people in the United States. I mean, I know Australia's huge, but so you guys can relate. But getting to a show can be difficult. I can't really say on that front. We just had our IPMS National about a month ago, and it's going to be in Texas next year, so that's going to be close enough that I'll finally get to go to one, I think.
Oh, well, we're going to have to get you as our special reporter in the US then.
Sounds like it.
We'll see. I'm going to take some stuff. It'll be interesting. I've got my opinions on all that whole scene, and I'm going to get put to the test.
Well, from what we've read, the Chattanooga one was absolutely off the charts, because they had something like 3,000 entries plus another 1,700 kits that were just there for display. So, we're talking over nearly 6,000 model kits just in display alone.
Bigger than Telford.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's big. It's big, and I think that's that's both a good thing and a bad thing.
Bad for the judges.
Yeah, exactly. They have a lot to get through. So.
Oh yeah.
Look, it's a challenge, and no situation is going to be perfect. But I would love to be able to go to one of those Eastern European shows like Mawson or FMC, because you look at the pictures of the stuff that they have at those shows, and it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, totally agree.
Even getting over to, say, the UK to Telford, because certainly on our radar, Telford have to be an up there show to attend, and one of the IPMS nationals in the US would also have to be high on our must-do list.
Yep.
Because just the range, and you get to meet manufacturers and little, cottage industry people that you just don't see on this side of the planet.
Yeah, well, you guys need to plan a trip to Texas next year.
Well, maybe we do. I think we've got some other plans for elsewhere, but that's still not finalised yet.
No.
So, but maybe the one after Texas. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
That's going to be in Las Vegas, is what I hear.
Las Vegas.
Geez, that'd be a shame.
Yeah, I can see three Australians in Vegas. That's not going to be trouble at all, right?
No, actually, I've been to Vegas a couple of times, and it's just a party town for adults. It really is.
It is, for sure.
And it's probably cheaper for us to get to Las Vegas than it is to Texas.
Oh, it's cheap to get you there, but once you're in Vegas,
that's where they get you.
They don't call it lost wages for that.
I like it.
Oh, that's so funny.
That is good.
Okay.
So what are you working on at the moment, Will?
Well, I just finished a Spitfire that was in my life for most of a year. That was a lot of fun. That was the Tamiya 132nd Spitfire, which is just a glorious kit. I mean, I just giggled constantly because the engineering was so good. So that was fun,
Nice.
but it's fun to move on. I'm actually working on a little vignette right now. You guys, are you guys familiar with Machining Krieger?
Oh,
I
yes,
am.
yes.
I am. I've got a ton of the old original Nitto boxings.
Oh, I'm jealous. Those things are so cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing a little vignette. I've got a little rusted out car and kind of making it, like it's, a couple of these stompy robots have come across this scene, and it's fun because it's alive. I mean, you get total creative freedom with that stuff.
That's the stuff I love, because as you said, you got your freedom. You can do as you want, whatever colors you want, however you want to build it.
I mean, there is an official canon, I suppose, that the Machining Krieger guys can get kind of serious about, and actually, I've entered this one. You guys know who Lincoln is, right?
Yeah, we interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's one of your guys, and he's a super cool guy, and he's doing a contest.
Yes, that's right.
So I was like, what the heck? I'll throw my lot in there, and I'm going to actually attempt to do that crazy lacquer brush painting technique that he does.
Oh, you're a game, man. You're a game.
You got a big set of kahunas is all I can say.
I'm only doing it on one out of the three pieces in the vignette, so I'm hedging my bets. It's the smallest one, so we'll see. But, I like to learn new things. It's always good to
That's how we keep on top of the game, isn't it?
Yep, it's good to broaden your skills.
Yep,
it's a creative journey.
Totally agree.
Absolutely. All right, well, Will, if people want to track you down, not for anything bad, but if they want to, if they want to follow you a bit more, how can they get in touch with you, or how can they follow you online?
Well, I suppose there's two ways. I've got a YouTube channel. It's pretty nerdy. I'm renowned for really long videos because I just don't care. I'm going to say whatever I say, and I tend to go deep. But I have a YouTube channel. I think people can find me. I think it's under Will Pattison. I don't even honestly remember what the URL is. But if they're on Facebook, then the Scale Modelers Critique Group is always a good place to locate me. And my Facebook page is public, so you can come yell at me anytime.
Fantastic.
Well, it's been absolutely amazing to have you on the show, and thanks very much for taking the time out to talk with us. And it's been really interesting and eye-opening.
Very eye-opening, yes, totally agree.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me. I was listening to your last episode, which, by the way, I just wanted to say I really liked that you guys brought up the rivet counter thing. I thought that was a topic and a conversation that serves the community well, and I appreciated you guys doing that.
Oh,
and
you're welcome.
I heard that you mentioned the injection molding thing, and I was like, oh well, maybe I can help. So
that's all appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've spoken before about the Gentleman Modeler, which was back in about episode 40 or so, and rivet counters. You know, as I said, it's one of those things. You know, it's just the odd. It's like the apples at the bottom of the barrel. There's only one or two bad ones that sort of spoil the rest of the barrel. So. Well,
it's like Julian pointed out. It's the difference between just being a jerk and being somebody who really just cares about certain details. Yeah. I mean, we all do the hobby for our own reasons. It's fun for each of us in our own way, and nobody has the right to judge that.
Agree 100%.
Totally agree.
Yep, agree 100%.
It's too true.
I said it, so I have to agree.
You do. All right, Will, thanks very much for being on the show. And as I said, we'll definitely get you back on. We can have you as our correspondent in the US or something like that.
Yes.
Hey, anytime. This is fun.
All right. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Will.
Catch you later. Bye. Well, that was certainly a great interview with Will. And, geez, I think we're going to get him back on the show again.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Awesome.
Try and get him as a regular, I think.
He can be our special correspondent in the US.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
We're going to have to get one over in Europe as well, then you know that, don't you?
Yeah, we'll find someone.
All right, gents. How about we do a sign-off?
Photo which is your friend. Bye from Ian.
Julian.
Oh, I don't know. I can never think. These are the sort of things you need to think of beforehand, and I never do.
We're up to episode 63 now, Julian. Concentrate.
Yeah, I know.
Concentrate.
Well, that's why I'm even less likely to come up with something.
Give me a J. Give me a U. Give me an L. Give me an I. Give me an A. Give me an N. What's that spell? Julian!
Oh, go away. Jeez.
Thanks very much, guys.
All right.
We'll be back in a fortnight.
Bye.
Bye. Well, we hope you enjoyed that episode of On the Bench. Before we go, just a couple of announcements. Firstly, if you recall at the beginning of the show, we got some free stuff from Brian at www.wargameminiatures.com.au, and that is a set of 6 Mr. Hobby glass paint jars, which are spare empty bottle sets, and also a set of 6 sanding sticks. And as I announced, I was going to randomly choose from one of our Patreon supporters. And Carl Hunting, you are the lucky winner. So I'll be in contact with you shortly, Carl. Congratulations. And, of course, the other thing I need to mention is if you also want to be a Patreon supporter, you can do so by going to www.patreon.com/onthebench. And you can pledge any amount from $1 upwards, and all of your contributions greatly help us with the production of this show and are greatly appreciated by us here on the Bench team. Last but not least, if you still need some more modelling goodness podcasts, go across and listen to our friends at the Scale Model Podcast out of Canada. Both Stuart and Anthony have a great show over there, and they produce their shows on the off week to ours. So that means every week you can have a podcast show to listen to. So that's it from me, Dave. Thanks very much for being with us this podcast, and we'll be back in a fortnight. Thanks.